He's smiling. He's got his pods in. Hair looks fantastic.
Always.
Let's go.
Let's go. Wilson, good morning. How are you, buddy?
This too.
What's that?
I'm good. I woke up like this.
You probably did.
Oh, boy.
Killer hair, bro. Killer hair. All right, let's start in Mississippi State. Let's start in Starkville. Any product? That looks like no product.
Yeah, you got to use product. Right?
No product. I say no product.
Bull.
No, there's some in there. Left over from
You don't get that height naturally on that hair.
yes.
Come on.
Great dry look, too. Wilson, how do you explain the ownership that LSU Baseball has had over Mississippi State for a long time? I mean, looking at some of these numbers, I had no idea that Mississippi State had struggled so mightily against LSU, even through LSU's kind of down years.
God.
Yeah, for whatever reason, LSU has always had Mississippi State's number. It does not seem to matter what's going on. Back in 2019, LSU was struggling a little bit, went on the road that year too and swept Mississippi State, and then came back and did it again this season. You have to preface this year a little bit by Mississippi State is not a good team this year coming off the national championship. They've had to reload quite a bit, but anytime you can go on the road and win a series, sweep a series in particular, that's impressive stuff.
Another number that jumps off is that LSU's 23-9 and 7-5 in the SEC and sitting in second place, just behind Arkansas in the SEC West. It feels like they have struggled mightily to get here, but then you look up and see them at that spot and say, man, they may be able to figure this stuff out. And one thing we learned this weekend is that their pitching is continuing to develop. Before we get to the offense and what they accomplished, what did you make of the defense and specifically that pitching staff this weekend in Starkville?
The defense was certainly a lot cleaner than it has been over the last few weekends. That was not as much of a problem, not sinking them like it has at times. And the pitching was really what stood out, though, because LSU coming into the year, that was kind of the question mark, right? What is LSU going to have on the pitching staff? Just because there was so many unknowns. There was obviously talent there, but you didn't know what that talent was actually going to end up doing. And they're showing that they're really deep in the bullpen. You don't have that excellent, frontline starter. I mean, McHale really has been pitching well in the SEC series so far, but he's not like a first round draft pick kind of guy. And Blake Money has struggled a little bit coming off of his wrist injuries, but their depth has been really impressive. I mean, they rolled out 6 guys on Saturday. They had a couple freshmen do some really good work here on Sunday. And that pitching staff looks like it's starting to come together and figure out who they can rely on.
Eric Rieselman, I thought another really good weekend for him. Where does he kind of sit as far as the confidence meter goes with Jay Johnson and that pitching staff?
Yeah, they seem to have quite a bit of confidence in him. I mean, it helps, when you have a guy who can at times push up at the 99 miles an hour with his fastball, but he locates it well. He's got this nice kind of little bit of it just sort of barrels through the zone the way it works. But what was nice to see was that he was able to use his breaking stuff a little bit too. That he and Ty Floyd are similar in that way, in that they have great fastballs, but they need to be able to complement them just every so often with a breaking pitch, something off speed. And Eric was able to do that a little bit this weekend.
Now to the offense, and they smashed the ball again this weekend. Specifically, I want to talk a little bit about Jacob Berry, Wilson, because we haven't really honed in on him and talked about him individually. I think you kind of saw the numbers that he put up last season versus Arizona. They jumped off, and you kind of wondered, would he be able to carry that over to the SEC? He's got this robotic type swing that seems like a machine when he's up there, that's very fundamental and I guess natural. I mean, it looks very natural to him. What have you made the impact that Berry has had on this team up to this point as he blasted another 3-run home run on Saturday?
It's not often that you can get a switch hitter in college who is as effective as Jacob Berry is. I mean, there's a reason that Jay Johnson hyped him up as much as he does or did before the season as a hitter, because he'd seen it at Arizona State. Jay, I mean, he does know hitting. You gotta give that to him. He knows when he sees a good hitter. And Jacob is that. I mean, batting .367 right now with 10 home runs, leads the team in both of those categories. He's been this stable, just this constant force in the middle of the lineup, gives LSU so much more depth in the lineup, protects guys like Trey Morgan and Dylan Cruz, because you can't just go around them, because then Jacob Berry is sitting there. And he is going to get his. He's just such a, like you said, fundamentally sound hitter, really just great in the box on either side.
I think they were kind of showing off some of the options that they have on Friday night when you see freshman right fielder Josh Pearson step into the lineup, and he hits a home run. He hit 2 on Friday night. Are you starting to see the depth and options that Johnson has here and some of the experiments that he's still kind of tinkering with?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Gavin Dugas was out, which sort of helped lead to some of the freshmen getting some more playing time in the outfield. And Josh took complete advantage of it. I mean, my God, he homered twice on Sunday too, and had 5 RBIs. And Josh Stevenson did a great job. He scoring. I think it was maybe Friday night or Saturday. He came around to score from second on. It was on Trey Morgan's hit. They've got some really good options there. I mean, it shows, Dylan Cruz is, and Gavin Dugas and Jacob, even though Jacob is, sort of back in the infield, they can be outfielders, and they were your starting outfielders kind of at the beginning of the season. They're probably going to move on after this, in a couple of years. You've got to start to look at, okay, the future looks pretty bright then when you have Josh Stevenson and Josh Pearson, because they had a really good weekend.
What do you make of this team's road mentality? Do you feel like they play a little bit better on the road? And I'm just kind of wondering as to why at this point.
I don't know what the reason would be for it, but they have played quite well. I mean, going on the road and taking a series against Florida and then going on the road and sweeping Mississippi State, there's something to be said for that. Even though, like we sort of said earlier, Mississippi State's not having a great year. They're 18-5 and 4-8 in the conference. Florida's kind of middle of the pack in the SEC East. Still, to go and do it is impressive in the SEC. You can't just take a series on the road against anybody, even if they're not having great years. And I don't know what the reason is behind that mentality, but they certainly seem to bring a ton of energy to the dugout when they are on the road.
Do you feel like they have like kind of an us against the world mentality with the thumbs down, and every time it feels like they're kind of almost betting on themselves every time they play at this point?
Yeah, you could say that maybe a little bit. I don't fully understand the thumbs down, like why they do that. We haven't asked about it really, I don't think, as to why they do that thing. But
we're on deadline.
True. Yeah, I don't know. I guess you could say that though.
All right, we're talking to Wilson Alexander here, who covers LSU baseball for The Advocate. Make sure you follow him on Twitter, WH_Alexander_ there to keep up with what is going on with LSU baseball. As we said, the Tigers sweep Mississippi State this weekend. They'll be back in action versus Lamar here in the midweek game for LSU. Trey Morgan again with a big hit on Friday night to knock in the winning runs. How have you seen his sophomore season kind of evolve to where he is now? I know he's struggled a little bit defensively, but it seems like when it comes to offense, he's still the same kind of steady as she goes type player.
Yeah, he's still been pretty good offensively. There's some hits that haven't quite fallen for him. I mean, the fact that you look at the stat sheet, he's at 326 right now, you think, oh, that's probably a little bit lower than Trey would even want to see. Trey expects to hit, probably more up toward 350. And he maybe has been a little bit unsatisfied with that at times. But sometimes, just the hits don't fall. But he continues to produce. I mean, you saw the go ahead game-winning hit there on Friday. He's just so consistent as a hitter, makes great contact. The fact that he can sling the ball out to the opposite field kind of whenever he wants to is such a unique quality in somebody as young as he is. You always know you're going to get good at-bats from Trey Morgan, and he continues to do that as a sophomore.
It's a huge series coming up next weekend versus Arkansas, right? I mean, you'll kind of get a measuring stick of where Jay Johnson's program is at the halfway point of year one.
A little bit. The whole talk about this past weekend was, okay, LSU's maybe turned a corner. They've taken a step. Some of the, consistency is arriving, I guess. And, Jay has said that with a new coach, and you're usually going to see this with a new coach, it takes some time. And Jay seems to think that, okay, now all those things are starting to click into place. You're going to really find out against Arkansas if that's the case. If some of this was just, bad teams that they were playing, or if they actually are legitimate contenders. It's once you don't want to make too much of one weekend, but this is certainly a big series coming up to try to take control of the SEC West.